Good morning, True Church. I'm Pastor Art, and today I want to give you an encouragement. Okay, I want to give you encouragement with this, and this is where Paul, in the book of Philippians, he's been speaking, and we come to this verse 2:14, and that 2:14 is something that my wife and I have said to each other a lot of times through our lives. We've been married for 23 years, and we both went to a Christian sports camp and worked there different summers when we were in college in New Braunfels, Texas. T-Bar-M, whoop, T-Bar-M. And while we were there, we both picked up this phrase, 2:14 it. Like would there be hard days or adverse situations, we'd be 2:14, 2:14. And what it basically says, Philippians 2:14 says, do everything without complaining or arguing. That's it. Now, in light of this, what has been said before is the very character of God and the person of Jesus coming to earth, dying, and then being exalted. And in light of this humility of God, this servanthood of God, then Paul is encouraging those to live in certain ways. And he says, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling, for God is in you and working through you to will and to act according to his good purposes. So it's this amazing use going, yes, God's using you. And then he says, do everything without complaining or arguing. And it's a direct correlation back to the Old Testament in Numbers, the book of Numbers, chapter 11, 12, 13, and 14, where that word grumbling keeps coming up. In Greek, it's kagusin. And you can't even say it without like a gragusin. Like I almost got my lips, I can't even say it without like grumbling. It's got this posture of just this grumpy stuff. And maybe you are experiencing that from another person, or maybe you're being like that. I was so like that yesterday. I was such a frump, and I needed to reorient. I needed God to reorient me back in the midst of the adjustments and the changes that are happening in our lives because of this COVID-19 changes that happened because of the virus that's going and changing our United States and even beyond that. And so I want to encourage you with me that we would 2:14 it. And what 2:14 means, it pauses, but 2:14 stops me from going down that path of grumbling that was happening with the Israelites when they were wandering around in this new era. And this was hundreds of years before the time of Jesus. They're wandering around, feeling lost, feeling disoriented. God's miraculously bringing them things like protection and food, but they get complaining after a bit. And they just want some type of control. And then they start romanticizing the past, which happens, right? Oh, it was so much greater when I would go to work every day and feel busy and feel worthwhile and all blah, 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 blah. And in reality, it's like, hold on. Was it really that good? Like, was it better than this moment right now? And what happens is we might start painting a picture backwards. It's not true, like the Israelites did, saying, oh, we used to have all this food and it was so great when we were slaves. And it's like, you were slaves. Like you were slaves. Right now, you're free. You're moving to this promised land, and God has been revealing himself to you. Like, really? You're going to complain now? Yeah. Because we have a bent on doing that sometimes. And so that's where when I feel myself going down, when Jenny sees me going down, or I see her, but most of the time she sees me more often maybe. 2:14. 2:14. A 2:14 is a kind of a check yourself. Do everything without complaining or arguing. You're going down the path. And there's a way to reorient that. There's really a way to reorient it. It's actually to give ourselves freely back to God. To be deeply thankful. And that comes naturally. That comes from us reorienting and asking God for the grace. And I do this in prayer sometimes. Thank you for the grace to bring me to this moment. And sometimes that pause of asking, remind me of the graces that brought me to this moment. Like the things I didn't even choose or ask for, but you still out of your goodness just gave me. Because grumbling at its core, whether it's about the lack of something or the situations or leadership, even which happened here, some of that came from this place of an ungratefulness, an unthankfulness to God. And I want to encourage you and me as we check ourselves, 2:14 it. and even in the comments below, what I'd like you to do is this today, okay? If you see this, just do this. Put 2:14 and then put something that you are asking God to give you sight to be grace to be thankful for. So it could be like this: 2:14, sunny weather. 2:14, food, or more specific than that, maybe a ham that you had, or I don't know, ice cream that you had last night. But particular things that you would say were graces given to you by God. So this morning, even as you see this text or see this in this morning, I want you to write in the text below in the comments 2:14, and then something that God would remind you to this morning that you can be thankful for. It opens our heart. It frees us from having to have this negative focus, and it opens us up to a brighter one. And I want to encourage you, 2:14 it today. 2:14 stops us and then reorients us back to open our hearts to God with thankfulness. Grace and peace for the rest of the day. I want to encourage you to put that in your comments. Bye for now.